Good afternoon and welcome to Real Chicks Rock Presents Real Discussions. I'm your host for today, Michelle Dosbert. And as always, I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. First of all, we want to make sure you guys are okay. I hope you guys are okay. I hope you guys are taking really good care of yourself, staying healthy, staying well, being safe. It's just still critical times for us, even though the governor said that we can slowly start opening up businesses. We opened up barbershops and hair salons and nail salons last week. This past Friday was the mall. So it's just a lot of activity, a lot of moving around, a lot of parts are starting to what appears to be somewhat back to normal, but most of us are still social distancing, myself included, and so are my guests. And so we just want everyone to proceed with caution, do what's best for you each day. Every day is changing. Pay attention to the numbers, pay attention to your health, and make sure your self care is in place. But thank you guys. I just wanted to throw that out there, get that out there, because that's our current events. Also, want to thank all of our first responders and all of those people that take care of us, that have been taking care of us for weeks, almost months now, with this from our grocery stores to our police, our firefighters, the nurses, the doctors, everyone in the healthcare profession, even pharmacists, everyone. Railroad workers, transportation people, everybody that is still having to go to work. Most of us have been able to do what we do remotely, but a good portion of us cannot. And so for those of us that still have to go out there, we say thank you. Please take care of yourself, be well, and know that we appreciate everything that you've been doing for us. All right. Thank you. So welcome, like I said. Thank you for all the new listeners that are joining our show for the first time. Let me just give you a little background about what Real Chicks Rock is all about. It's all about creatively collaborating and connecting to raise awareness about issues that impact us as women. And we do that, and we hope to level the playing field by doing that. And we want to empower people with the tools that they need. And we touch people through community service. We do it through our activism. We do it through mentoring and public speaking. And we also do it through this platform, which is the media. And I'm really excited about doing this. Last week, I celebrated my 4th year of doing it. Yeah, we've been doing this for 4 years. So we're super excited about that. And we thank and you for watching us and keeping us going. And so today is no different. Today, our topic is our mental state during the pandemic. Yeah, I didn't really want to talk about it. I always acknowledge it for the past couple of shows, and I give thanks and I recognize the fact that our current state is what it is, but I wanted to really bring some professionals in. These ladies I've talked to before. I appreciate what they do. I appreciate the insight and the information that they've given me, and I'm sure that their clients appreciate them as well. And so we wanted to bring some people in to talk about our mental state because it can't be avoided. There's so many things that are going on. Just our new normal is different. And I wanted to be able to have an open conversation where we could talk about all the things that are possibly impacting us and even them as professional therapists. Without further ado, please welcome my guests, Nathalie Ellis and Erica James-Strayhorn. Hi, ladies.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good, good.
Thank you both. You ladies have both been on the show before, and I'm always excited when you guys can come back because you guys are busy professionals, and you guys try to balance everything out. So I really appreciate you guys taking a little time on your Sunday to talk to myself and so many people that are watching. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
You're welcome.
Welcome.
My pleasure.
Thank you. All right. So, ladies, let's talk about the sudden change, right? Like, because the last time I seen you, it was at the studio, right? So
Right.
we were all together. We could be together in a social setting. Now we have to do the social distancing. How has that impacted you personally? And then maybe a little bit about your profession. Nathalie, tell me, how has it impacted you, this whole COVID-19 social distancing? How are you feeling with this?
Well, for me, it's a day-to-day adjustment, and I'm having to adjust a lot of different things professionally and personally. In a big way, I have a son that's a senior in high school, so again, that's impacted a lot of things for him academically. Well, not more so academically, but socially, his social academics. Um, no prom, no senior trips, and at this point, no graduation in the way that we've known it in the
Mm,
past. So there's just lots of changes. So I've had to have conversations with him. A few weeks ago, I hosted a Zoom meeting with other seniors to just have that conversation with them, how they feel about it, because this is impacting all of us. And so, yeah, it's about adjusting because a lot of this are things that's outside of our control.
mm-hmm.
And like I tell my clients, and I constantly tell myself, okay, I'm starting to feel the weight of a lot of this. What can I do about it? Right. So then the focus is on the things that I can do. And so making sure we self care, making sure we're taking care of ourselves is very, very important. And yes, and
Mm-hmm.
professionally, for the past month now, at this point, I have been doing all virtual sessions. So I do everything from home,
Mm-hmm.
where I meet with clients over the phone or via video. And that's been going pretty well. So I'm pretty consistent with seeing clients daily, all day, still.
Good.
So
That's
that's
good.
if people definitely need it, and I encourage it. I encourage people if there's not a good time to make sure you get well, this is it. Because one of my motto has been we don't only want to survive this pandemic, but we want to thrive beyond it.
Mm-hmm.
Because we don't want to be down in the hole once all this is over with. So
Awesome.
gotta get
Awesome.
do the work we need to do.
Awesome. Thanks, Natalie. How about you, Erica? How have you been doing with the sudden change? How have you pivoted personally for this?
So personally, it honestly hasn't been that big of a pivot for me. I was already kind of a person who liked to be at home, and so that really wasn't a challenge. But I did kind of experience that thing where it's like when somebody tells you you can't do something, then you want to do it even more. So a
Right.
little bit of feeling like, oh man, I really wish I could go to X, Y, and Z or go do this thing. And normally it wouldn't really bother me, but now when it was enforced, we were the shelter in place was in place. It was kind of that thing like, oh well, because they told me not to or I can't go to this. Now I kind of want to do it. But overall, it's been the personal part of it has been fine for me, just adjusting and doing more stuff around the house, doing some upgrades around my home, things that my husband and I have been thinking about doing and just never got the time to. So doing some little odds and ends around the home has been really awesome. And then personally, again, as Natalie said, just transitioning all of my sessions from in the office into virtually. So I'm seeing my clients remotely from my home, and I already had some virtual clients before. And now that all of my clients are virtual, as I was sharing with you ladies before we started, I decided to take this past week off from seeing clients just because it was a transition and I could feel myself kind of hitting a wall at the beginning of
Mm,
the month. So I
mm,
decided to take this time at the end of the month to take some time for myself. And I think the biggest thing for me was like, when you're virtual, especially if you're virtual from your house, it's almost like the people that you're interacting with are in your home. And so that was kind of an interesting thing for me.
mhm.
So again, just taking that time off, really focusing on myself, on my own self care, and allowing myself to process whatever came up for me during
Right.
this transition.
Right. Yeah, it is difficult. A couple of things you ladies both said. One is it has been overwhelming
Hmm.
for all of us, right? Because it's been a change. It's been a shift. It's been weeks, like months now, like almost 2 months that we have been home. Like, and it's been a very minimal routine where you may
Right.
go to the store and you come back. And you're not going to the store every day, realistically, right? Because that's not even a safe space or safe thing to be doing all the time. You go because you have to. So maybe
Right.
you go once a week, possibly twice. The weather's been favorable for us. Some people still were getting snow and unseasonable conditions in other parts of the country, but we could at least go outside. But then there's nobody else outside. Maybe it seems very eerie. Sometimes, it's you and the birds and a couple of squirrels, and it feels different. And then you come home, and home has a sense of normalcy, but it's not. It's still different because you're all home because you can't or shouldn't be outside. So then it's for most of us being at home, right? If we were working at home before, we were doing it by ourselves. Kids were off to school, spouse might have been off, right? Now everybody's at home. Now there's no sense of me time. Your time has to be shared with other people, this interaction. It's around the clock momentum. Meals have to be done. If you have kids, there's school that has to be interjected for 5 days out of the week. I totally agree with both of you ladies about the importance of understanding your self-care, like identifying what's going on with you and being able to say, you know what, I can't, I'm going to pause, I'm going to take a break, I'm going to take a little me time, or just not read emails, or not whatever that is that's making you feel this angst, that you stop it, because it is different, because we were already dealing with trying to understand who we were before, right? So now we have this pandemic that is just global, and it's like, and there were parts and there's times, and I'm going to talk about it, the anxiety of it all, because you see the increase in numbers, right? Your mind, you see it and it's doubling, and it's like, oh my God. And you have this overwhelming sensation of anxiety a little bit, because you're like, oh my God, like I can't touch, I can't hug. And this weekend I was out and I saw some people I knew, and we literally we were doing 6 feet, and work. The only thing possible, maybe with the guy, I gave him the elbow. Like, we are really like not doing it. So it is not only is it a sudden change, it's possibly the new normal for us. And so we're going to be in this space for the summer, right? To Nathalie's point, her son is graduating, he's a senior. But what are we doing for the summer? I don't know what's happening for the summer. My son typically goes to camp. Are we doing camp this summer? Like, what are we doing? So that is more weeks on end of the same routine that we've already experienced these past maybe 2 months, 6 to 7 weeks already. And it's just I just don't know. And so I want to talk about this isolation and depression that people may feel. Now, Erica, you're beautiful and fortunate. You celebrated maybe your second, is it the second wedding anniversary? We've been married almost 2 years now.
Well, it'll be the third anniversary in a couple of weeks.
See
Yeah.
how quick that is. So you have Anthony. Hi, Anthony. Nathalie, you have your son. And I have my son. So we have people, but there's so many people that are home by themselves. They're single people, for whatever the reasons, they're home by themselves. They have no one to talk to, no one to interact with. So then you feel this isolation, right? And you feel slightly depressed, because when is this going to be over? How do I deal with this? Ladies, Nathalie, what do you say? How do we manage or maneuver through isolation and possible depression because of the isolation?
Yeah. So yeah, initially with a few of my clients, it's like we're not sure for how long this is going to be before. And so, because I have a lot of clients, a lot of women clients who live alone. And so trying to create, be very creative. This is also the time to really be very creative in how we do this, right? And so their friendships, they obviously can't see their friends in the same way. And so how do we do that? And so great thing with technology and Zoom. So I'm not sure how all this will be 20 years ago, right? Because we didn't have all this technology 20, 30 years ago.
Right.
But now we have all this technology, so people can do a lot of Zoom calls. People are very creative in meeting up through Zoom, drinking wine, playing games. Netflix have a Netflix watch. So there's a lot of creative things that can be done to stay at least connected. I wouldn't even somewhat socially, because the thing about social interaction is the fact that you can get to hug and kiss and touch the person, right? So we can't do that. So the touch is definitely missing, and people are missing that because they're talking to people, but they're missing the fact that they can't be close to that person. Because that's also what we need as humans: the closeness, the connection to touch with people. So with one particular client, again, we have to be very creative given the situation we're in. One thing we talked about is getting a teddy bear. So whenever you're talking to a particular family member, or talking to a particular person because you can't touch them, hug the teddy bear. Have this closeness. Hug that thing to represent that, because we have to again figure out ways to still get our needs met, because everybody has different ways that they feel connected, that they feel a purpose in life. And so yeah, these are the conversations that we kind of have to do. Really step outside the box. And the other thing is about changing the mindset. Again, we're going almost into 2 months into this, right? And so it's not about when is this over with, because this notion of when this over with, meaning we're doing whatever we need to do quickly and short term.
Right.
So because we don't know when this is going to be over with, I'm encouraging people to really look at your life and look at creating a structure, creating the things that we know is important to do. How do we incorporate that back? It's one thing to say I'm going to miss yoga for the next month, but now to say I'm going to miss yoga till for the next 6 months, or I'm going to miss what I love doing for the next 6 months, that's a lot. And so the things we used to do, figuring out ways to try to incorporate that back into the schedule, because we don't know when this is over. So it's not about waiting for it to end. It's about, okay, now this is here. How do I and do the things that I've enjoyed doing, do the things that I know helps me be well. Like Erica mentioned, going outside for walks. So there's things we're going to have to go and do to get us well, and not just kind of wait for it to end.
Wow.
Again, this may be the new normal, right? Because virus has always been kind of around. You know, TB is contagious. We don't know who has TB. You know, but now that there's this pressure on, oh, can't touch, people sneezing, you know, so there's going to be this distance that's going to be there for a while, right? And we have to figure out how to create, how to get back into society in a way and still keep ourselves safe, but still stay connected to the people that we love. So this is definitely a time with each of my clients to be creative. Okay, well, how do we do this? With even my small kids, a lot of kids are also at home. They're an only child, isolated from other kids, and I'm encouraging parents, make sure they do those Zoom calls, make sure they're connecting. Ask the teacher, is there another kid in the classroom that they could connect with? Because again, kids need to be connected to other kids, you know, not just with the adults. So we have to really be creative and be open-minded to figure out, okay, how do we move forward?
That's a good idea. That's a good idea. Erica, what say you? How do you feel we should handle isolation, possible depression, anything that we could do? Any insight that you could share?
Sure. So I love that idea about having a teddy bear or something like that to hug, because a lot of what we're missing out on, as Natalie mentioned, is the touch.
Right.
And like sensory aspect of touching and being touched and the hugging experience. And something that I've suggested for a few of my clients has been to get a weighted blanket. And you know, a weighted blanket is simply a blanket that has some amount of weight in it. I'm not sure exactly how. I think that it ranges from like 1 pound up to 5 pounds maybe, and you can wrap it around yourself, or when you're in bed you can put it on top of you, because it gives you that feeling of security, that feeling of safety, that feeling of somebody hugging you, especially if you are a person who lives alone, or let's say it's a roommate situation, or because you know isolation of course happens when you live alone, but there's also isolation when you live with other people. You know, if you are married, or if you do have kids, or if you have a family and you're connecting with those people, it doesn't mean. And so for a lot of people, because before we did spend so much time out of the house, you know, at school, at work, doing our own things, now this is an opportunity for people who live in the same household to maybe reconnect or figure out a new type of relationship, or just explore different types of connections within the household. So I think the overarching assumption is, if you live alone, like the only people who experience isolation are those who live alone, or loneliness are those who live alone. It also happens with those who live with other people too. I'm getting some clients who are having challenges with reconnecting with their spouses, reconnecting with their children, or figuring out how to get some time away from them and not offend the other person, and not offend their child, not offend their partner. Because again, as you said, everybody's in the house now. We're working at home, we're teaching at home, we're eating at home, we're being entertained at home. So all those things we did outside of our home are now happening inside, and it can be a lot to try to balance all of that. So that can sometimes create some challenges with isolation within relationships too.
Yeah, it's a lot. It is the new normal. It's a lot to take in. I like what you ladies are saying. Natalie, I like what you're saying. Like, because I think initially we might have entered it in as like, this is a checklist, or we just got to get through this and then it'll go away and it's over, but it's not. And it is going to be a part of our lives for at least maybe another year or so, or however, it may just be a part of it. And I'm looking at it from all different aspects, right? We were so, and I'm jumping around, but we were so used to engaging with people. Even just a slight bump in the supermarket led to a conversation, right? Sometimes people met people for the first time by a bump or brushing by or this. And so now you don't have this physical introduction to things, right? So, and I find myself by wearing a mask, I'm not friendly. Before, my smile was my umbrella. I was always smiling. I had lipstick on, lip gloss, whatever. Now I don't do that, right? Because I got a mask on my face. So my lips are covered and I almost feel angry, like, because I got to wear this mask and it's for my own good and the protection of others. But I'm like, why am I happy about this? So I'm not necessarily putting out good energy. I'm like not looking at people. Literally, I'm not looking at people. I'm not focused on that. I'm just trying to get into the establishment, which is the store, get what I need and come out. I may say something to the cashier and say, well, how are you today? Because they're the ones subjected to having all of these different people and personalities come at them. So I'm trying to at least be mindful of that. But the interaction from my car to the supermarket and seeing people, no. I feel like I'm not nice like I used to be. I'm like, no, because I'm in this mask thing. Am I crazy? Natalie's making a face. Am I crazy, Natalie, to feel this way?
No, it makes perfect sense because it's another form of it's a barrier, right? That creates a level of disconnection, right, from people. So the mask itself is a barrier. When I wear it, it's hard for me to breathe. I'm constantly trying to take deep breaths and moving around.
Yeah.
You know, so it's an automatic form of disconnection with others. And so again, because the goal is also to stay disconnected, so then you're trying to focus on just get what you need and leave out. Because again, we can't engage. Engaging means we get close. And at this point, it's the isolation and the 6 feet distancing is about keeping our distance. So that totally makes sense. Which again, that plays on our psyche too, right? So because you're naturally a person who is warm, who wants to connect, and when you're in a position where, you're forced because of our health at this point to stay disconnected, I'm sure that plays a toll. So yeah. When you mentioned being angry, that makes sense. How that can you in that way.
I find myself I don't even want to go out now. Like because it's a whole different mindset. You really have to carry yourself in a sense of protection, like not be all, you know what I'm saying? It's like be specific, be intentional. You got somewhere to go, do that and come back. Before it was like, oh, I could go here, to Erica's point, I can go here and I can do this. And now the restrictions to me are still in place, even though they may be open. I'm still not comfortable in yet going to all of these, to the mall or doing this or doing that. I'm not really in that space yet. So I feel like it's easier for me to just stay home or stay in my neighborhood where there's less interaction of all these people versus going to the store or just going out. It's incredible. And so it had me thinking. It's my thinking phase. Like relationships. So now and I didn't ask you ladies before, but I'm going to ask, do we have to virtually date now? Like this is what we're going to have to do? Because how are we going to meet people if the mindset is to stay away? What do you think? Erica, what is your thoughts on that? What do you think?
So first, I'd like to add something about the mask. I still make a conscious effort to smile, even if they can't see it, because it makes me feel great, And I think when you are smiling, the person you're smiling at can still see it because of your eyes. So I smile, I speak, I wave, I'm very respectful of the social distancing kind of thing because I don't want to get in a space where now I've become habituated to not smiling and when it is okay for people to not wear masks anymore, I still, because that's me, that's who I am. And so I still smile, I still wave, I still talk to the cashiers and the other people in the store. And, most people are very much, kind of mean or kind of guarded, which I totally understand and I respect. And so when they see me smiling and waving, they're kind of like, what is this? Like, what is she doing? And sometimes it's a surprise. And, I sometimes am surprised by those who I can tell they're smiling back or they're offering some sort of like love or some sort of energy back towards me because again, I smile for me. So I still do it even though if nobody can see it or not. And then to answer your question about relationships, yes, more and more people are leaning on dating apps and other types of ways to meet other people, even more so than before, of course, because of social distancing, because we still desire partnership, because we desire relationship. And so definitely dating sites and dating apps are still very popular, and a lot of people are finding other creative ways to date via the internet. You know, on Twitter, a lot of times people will they'll have like, I think once a month, if you're single, you can post like your stats, like a picture about yourself, your age, what you're into, and other people on Twitter, if they see it, you know, they can start up a relationship that way. Sometimes people do dates on Instagram Live. I know that there's a lot of the live video features on dating apps have become more robust because they understand people are using those more. There's an app, I don't remember which app it is, but they had an advertisement talking about how for the first date, for this virtual date, one of the people ordered the other person food like via like a food delivery service and sent them a gift. And so there's a lot of different ways people are being really more creative. To Natalie's point earlier, you know, we have to get creative right now if we are going to not only maintain and sustain our mental health, our social health, our physical health in the pandemic. We are going to need to make sure we're doing some stuff to sustain ourselves when this is over, whatever that is, whatever that looks like. It is important to understand, like, wow, like things have really changed, and you know, it's natural to have that concern of when is this going to be over. However, that does not serve you because we don't know, and we don't know what it's going to look like. And so try to be as present as you can in the moment, day to day in the moment, and also remembering, like, allowing yourself to think about the things that haven't changed. Like, we think that so much has changed, and there are a lot of things that have changed. But also spend some time thinking about, okay, what about my lifestyle hasn't changed? What about my lifestyle is still the same? And I think that can help ease some anxiety you may have, or ease some other symptoms you may have around fear or feeling like your life is completely out of control because everything has changed. Really focusing on the stuff, on the things that have stayed the same throughout all of this, I think is an important thing to do as well.
Awesome.
Good point. Going back to the points with the loneliness, I know for a few of my clients, and particularly we brought up the ones that live alone, partnership was already a struggle beforehand, and feeling as if because of this pandemic, so from a few clients I've heard 2020 is over with, they feel as if it was a wasted year because nothing can be done. And so again, as Erica mentioned, how do we shift those mindsets? And because that type of thinking, definitely acknowledge it, definitely own it, and notice whatever the emotion that comes with it. But at some point we just can't save it because it doesn't serve any purpose, right? It's just not useful and helpful. And so when people tend to stay in that negative state, it just creates more anxiety, more shame if there's shame, more anger, frustration. And what that does will then impact our physical health, then impacts everything else, which is not helpful. And so it's about shifting it. It's acknowledging those emotions, acknowledging those things, but shifting it to what are the things we can do, what can empower us, you know. And so being very creative in how we date and how we link up. So with a few of my clients, how do we link up with virtual groups? So all the things you wanted to do, one client wanted to do volleyball. Well, see, there's a virtual volleyball. Still the things that was of interest, but seeing what's out there that's being done virtually, because you're not the only one in this shoot. Everybody is, right? So everybody's trying to connect still. So maybe there's a volleyball team volleyball group that's trying to connect virtually. And so then that becomes the focus. Focus on your interest, and then saying, okay, what's out there virtually that still keep me connected to that interest, and then hence meet people. So yeah, a lot of this is going to be about the mindset, because if the mindset is burdened, if the mindset is focused on watching too much news, again, I tell people, again, what's helpful about knowing the amount of deaths today?
Right.
What is helpful about that?
Right.
Except that you feel scared, right? And again, there's some validity to understanding and knowing some of that. But when you're constantly in that state, again, it serves no purpose. Right. So you may want to step away from some of that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I had to talk to my family's based in New York, so of course they're in it, and it's really difficult there. And they're still trying to exist, right, and still have regular, normal lives as much as possible. And I talked to my mom early on, a couple of weeks when it first started, and you could hear the anxiety in her voice. And I had to tell her, like, well, what is your day? Tell me what your day consists of. And, she's like, I'm watching the news. And every time Governor Cuomo said something, she was watching it. And every time there was a report that came out, she was watching. And I said, you don't have to watch it all the time. Just get a little bit in the morning. It's good to be informed, and then try to go through your day as you normally would. Watch the programs you normally watch, have your breakfast, your lunch, and dinner around the time that's comfortable for you. Just kind of just breathe, because you're here and you're good, right? And you feel good. And I'm telling you, instantly her vibration is just different. Hi, Michelle. It's just, she's in a different place. Like, it seems like she has more control of how she spends her day and what she takes in and what she lets out. And I think that's very important, what you surround yourself with, as much positive things, even positive memories, or things that you remember that you really enjoy doing, or things that you like. Just embody yourself as much as possible. I told her to watch funny shows and watch comedy shows, things that make you laugh and take your mind off of the current surroundings. Not that it goes away, but it just helps you navigate. We're trying to figure out how to navigate every day, and our navigation systems are different for each of us, right? No one's is alike. So you got to find what makes you feel that you can breathe. I think anxiety, sometimes you're not breathing enough, and maybe you just need to just breathe and relax and be thankful. That's the thing too, of what we do have. We're here. And someone said to me, there's more normal things, to Natalie's point, going on versus what's not, right? So don't look at the negative so much, but look at the positive. And it's a lot of good things that are happening in the midst of this pandemic. Absolutely, absolutely. I want to talk about, unfortunately though, loss, right? We are dealing with losses during this time. People that we love may have caught COVID-19, the coronavirus, unfortunately. And because of the current environment, we can't even properly say goodbye, right? So then we don't have what we feel closure, right? Um, we have a grief. We're grieving differently, or we're mourning differently. Um, Ladies, how do you feel? Any advice? Nathalie, let me start with you. How do we cope with this type of loss in this new type of normal, where we can't even say our goodbyes, or even go see people, or just for us, because they've already transitioned. So it's really, the goodbyes are really more so for us. How do we deal with that, Nathalie? What do you say?
Yeah, because I've had a few clients who has experienced losses, and some of them were because of the virus. But a lot of it is just life. Life still continues. Life still brings us whatever it's going to bring us, right? So we still have to be able to function and deal with it. And so this particular client, it's her grandmother, who she was very close with, that passed away. But again, she couldn't go to the funeral. Grandmother was out of state, and she couldn't properly do the healing that she needed to. Because again, funerals, we want to touch, we want to hug, we want to cry,
Right.
be able to give comfort.
Right.
So we can't give comfort in the same way to the people that we love, and vice versa. And so, yeah, again, it's definitely about being creative. And so there's things that they've done in terms of Zoom meetings and seeing the bodies virtually. There's different things like that. And then creating a plan for the future, in terms of ways to then reconnect again, to then create the level of closure that they need, because that is possible. And so one of the things with all of this too, there's a lot of things that's outside of our control, and when we feel out of control, the anxiety seeps in, and the helplessness. There's a lot of helplessness, and that's when we're like, what do we do? But we are empowered, and as Erica mentioned, there are things that we can do to empower ourselves, and that becomes the focus. We could focus on all the things we can't do nothing about, and feel even more down and more burdened and more heavy with all of that. But then focus on the things we can do. And so with a few of my clients with losses, one of the things she's done with her grandmother is, because there's so many memories with grandma, let's create that into a book. So let's create a journal of that. Write that stuff down. You have that time now. Put that into a memoir of some sort. Put that into a photo book, right? So there are things you can do with that can allow you to grieve and properly go through the grief and loss stages and all those things. So at this point, it's going to probably be more personal for individuals because we can't do the connection as the way that we normally would, but there are things that we can do. And so it becomes individually figuring out with that particular client, what are the things you can do so that you can get your needs met and work through this.
Erica, how about you? How do you think people could possibly handle the loss of their family members during this time? What advice could you share?
Yeah, so first, everything that Nathalie said is 100%. Like, I completely agree with all of that. And just to kind of reiterate, this is an amazing opportunity for all of us to get creative and figuring out ways to honor your loved ones who have passed in very, very creative ways, whether that looks like a memory book, a journal, something with their photos, maybe, sharing stories that you remember from your family member, the things that we would have done in the past anyway. They just have a different meaning now because we can't get into that physical social experience of honoring our loved one at the funeral, at the viewing, at the wake, all those kinds of things. So really allowing yourself to maybe even create some new rituals around this. And, maybe before you did this thing and now as a family, let's kind of think of something new and different that we could do to honor this loved one. And I think that's a really amazing thing to do right now in general. So of course, with those who have experienced grief and loss, but this is also a really amazing time for individuals and families and couples to start figuring out some new traditions and some new rituals they can do within their own households. Something that I'm hearing a lot about are like people cooking together and even going on walks every evening after dinner, doing puzzles, kind of going back to those basic things that we used to do before technology was such a big thing. Doing crossword puzzles together, just figuring out a lot of different, again, creative ways to connect with your family. So I think that is related to, funerals and people passing away, as well as those of us who are still here. We're still, doing our best to cope with this, being creative and allowing yourself to do some really cool, fun things with your family. And again, to Nathalie's point, when it is safe for us to be gathered again, then that's a time that we can get together and honor that family member in that more traditional way. But until then, how can we still pay homage and honor to this person and get really creative about it? Maybe it's you have still some mementos of that person in your home, creating some sort of box or some sort of beautiful vessel that you collect all those memories in. Like there's so many different ways that we can honor people who have passed away. And again, I think it's really about thinking outside of the box and getting really creative with things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I've noted those things. Yeah, it is a time to create new traditions and new habits or new rituals, if you will, because some things will be different. Like there'll be some doors that'll be closed that we probably won't be able to open those doors back up again, but doesn't mean that you don't stop living. You continue to live and you create a new norm for you and your loved ones and for your family. I want to talk about another type of loss. Like people are losing jobs, unfortunately. 26 million people have filed for unemployment already. So the numbers are staggering. So people are not working. It's an impact on our mental, just everything else that's going on with us. Do you find, ladies, now that you're having to meet your clients virtual, has that changed for you? Have people tapered off because of economic situations, or are you feeling like more people need to talk to a therapist because there's just so much going on and a job loss was the last thing, by God, I needed to deal with on top of everything else? What say you, Erica? How has it been for you?
So fortunately for me, I haven't lost any clients to that particular reason.
Okay.
I think the biggest challenge, so to speak, may have been with scheduling. And because now that clients are dealing with different schedules with their work, or because they're working from home and they're trying to really figure out how do I work from home in the environment when everybody is home here and with me now, like you mentioned before. So for me, it's been more of a scheduling kind of thing going on, and then not as much as clients needing to cancel or postpone because of job loss, which I'm absolutely grateful for. And I've also been getting an increase in clients, which is another reason why I decided to take this past week off, because I could kind of see it coming. And what that means to me is that people are really, really starting to understand the importance of their mental health, understanding how this pandemic is really impacting their mental health, things that were not really challenging for them before. They're having a challenge with some day-to-day activities. They're having a challenge communicating. Maybe they don't even know what they feel. They just feel something that's unsettled or just different, and they don't really know how to put the words to it. Or because of the social isolation and the social distancing, maybe they're not connecting to as many people and having like quality, meaningful conversations, and they want another outlet for that as well. And so that's kind of been my experience. Again, I have had some clients who their coworkers were furloughed, and they're kind of worried about how that may impact them. But at this point, again, I haven't had any clients who needed to postpone or go on a brief break from therapy because of their job status. And again, what that shows me is that people are really starting to prioritize their mental health.
Yeah, very important. Nathalie, what say you? Same for you, Nat?
Yeah, for sure. So I just one particular client did say she's going to put sessions on hold because of that, because she did get she was working in the service industry, but then we're still connected through checking in on her to make sure she's okay. So because that is something, again, and one thing I tell clients, don't ever let them, because that's a part of the mission, right? So I know this is a business, so I'm very well aware of that.
Right.
But again, the mission of making sure people are taking care of themselves. So I always tell clients, don't let money be a reason you can't come to therapy, right? So we'll figure it out. And so since then, that was her initial thing. But since then, we've been able to reconnect and to make some figure out what she needs and make sure she stays at her best. But yeah, the things that Erica mentioned in terms of people are really recognizing that this is a priority for different reasons. I've heard that, with this pandemic, this was an opportunity for people to reset. And in a lot of ways it is, right?
Yes.
Because we've had whatever lives we've had, it doesn't mean it was the best life for us, right? So we're now in a position to, everything is kind of on a little pause in whatever way. And it is scary, because any change is scary. If this was the job you're going back to, is this the job that you wanted? The life that you had, is this what you wanted? So with a lot of my clients, we are having some of those conversations. When things go back to normal, is this the kind of normal you want? What does that mean? And so what do you want to be different this time? With some of my friends, one particular client with some of her friends, she recognized that a lot of these people weren't really friends. Because a lot of people were tapering off and not necessarily checking in the way that she was. And she was able to reassess things. Says, you know what, these weren't people that I really wanted to be around. She was doing her own self-esteem stuff, and so this gave her an opportunity to see, these weren't really the people I wanted to be with. And now figuring out, okay, as we move forward, how do I change some of my friend group? And so, yeah, there's a lot of opportunities. It is scary for sure, and definitely validating people's fears and validating people's worries. Being out of a job is definitely scary. And one thing that Erica mentioned, not just going back to doing games and doing family time, doing things that reconnect us as people on a basic level, because technology kind of took some of that away, but work takes that away. People's jobs are demanding.
Yes.
People got a lot going on, with work. I'm like, oh my God. School for kids is demanding. Everything is just so demanding, right? And if I can't do this, I'm gonna just kill myself. I'm just off. People are stressed. People are anxious. People have a need. These expectations that put on us, right? Living in this society, there's a lot of expectations that becomes really hard to keep up with. And here, everything was put on hold. You ain't gotta do nothing. Like I saw a post that says, you know what? I don't want to do nothing but sit here. And I'm good with that. And so sometimes we just need it, just that opportunity to do nothing. And reassess life and reassess what we want. But to take a break from work. And again, in those who's trying to figure out what to do next, it's definitely a lot of people are looking into self businesses. So a lot of great things come out of this. A lot of colleges are offering free programs, free classes. So I've had a few, because somebody says, whenever I hear a great thing, like, send me that site so I can send it to somebody else. So I had a client doing a self-development class for free. And so she's trying to figure out how to develop a business. So again, this puts us in a position to really reassess our lives overall, and decide what we want to do next, and how we want to do next. But people are definitely calling. So they do definitely understand the need. Mental health doesn't have to be this whole thing over here. the person who's schizophrenic, the person who's this. No, the mental health is all of us all the time. We're constantly dealing with how we're dealing and coping with things in terms of how we feel, how we behave, how, in our body, how all that impacts our body, because physical health and mental health goes hand in hand. So yeah, I think people are slowly are getting it.
Mm-hmm.
Our job, you know, Erica and myself, in terms of professionals, to be there to kind of help support them and navigate through all of this.
Yeah, we need more ladies like yourself. But you're absolutely right. It is. I've said it was a reset. It feels like Christmas. You know, at Christmas Day, the only thing was open was the supermarket. You can get in there, and it closes at 3, and
Yeah.
then it's like a stillness. And it's been that way here in Atlanta for weeks, It's even eerie if you're out past 8 o'clock or 9, you know, just coming from whatever, getting gas or whatever. And you're like, there's nobody on the street. There's like literally no one on the street. So it has been a reset, and it makes you prioritize what's really important to you. Especially when you don't have the cheerleaders and, you know, other people or other things or distractions that's in your face or in your way or clouding your mind. You really think about, well, what's really important to you? And for these past couple of weeks, it's been our health, right? That has been the priority, just making sure that we're well every day, because that leads us and gives us the ability to cope, to do all the other things that we have to do throughout the day. So I think for me, it's been health, you know, making sure that I'm good and all of the responsibilities that fall under that. Because I'm healthy, I'm able to do these various different things, and it's peace of mind. You know, Erica knows, I go out, right? I've seen, hey, you know, I'm cutting it in, getting it in, and that kind of stuff. I love to dance as well too, but I'm okay. Like, I think right now you have to like yourself during these times. You have to know who you are, and you have to be okay with who you are, because you don't have a lot of options of disguising that, right? Before, we used to run out and do different things or be on the phone and hook up with people and call and this, you know, and kind of just run around and do various different things, and we didn't have to deal with it as much. But now those avenues are closed for now. They're going to open back up, but we've had to deal with ourselves, and we had to deal with the voices that we hear in our head, what tells us what to do, our gut feeling, and just really prioritize like what's important, what really is important at this time. And then it's like reinventing yourself, right? Because for some of us, we were furloughed, we've lost jobs, so corporate America may not be the answer for us. So then how do you reinvent yourself financially, right? Is this the time to do that? How do you become an entrepreneur during this time? Like there's talks about small business loans. What does that really mean? So there's a whole different dynamic and avenue to possibly explore to make you feel okay, or to create or reset or renew who you are during this time. So there's a lot of negative, but there's a lot of positive too. And you see it a lot on social media where people are coming out with new ideas. Like everybody's selling a mask. Like this is like people are making money of creating masks. And of course, we're very creative. So some of the masks are beautiful, and people are selling them and making money and being an entrepreneur and catching an entrepreneur bug and doing all type of things. So it is a time to kind of renew or reset yourself and renew and release some of those things, because yeah, there are people that are not checking for you during this time. They were before, they were all in your face, whatever their intentions were. But now you notice that that particular number is not coming through your phone. People aren't calling you. Some are, some aren't. And you have to evaluate and say why. And you could be the bigger person and reach out, because you know what? You don't know what they're going through either. So
Right.
now is the time to really kind of just check in, get a pulse where people are at, how they're doing, you know, just a light conversation, keep it light, just to understand and just connect. Because when you come out of this, you're going to understand who you want to kind of still kind of roll with, and who you're like, nah, I'm going to leave that in my former life. I don't think I want to continue that particular relationship. Would you ladies agree?
Absolutely. And I do like what you said about, I think some people are getting kind of caught up in, well, so and so hasn't checked on me. And I'm like, well, everybody's kind of going through this at the same time. And everybody doesn't have the capacity to check in on everybody else if they are dealing with whatever they have going on with themselves. And so try not to take that personally. Like you said, if you want to reach out, or if you notice that somebody hasn't reached out in a while, maybe it's not a personal thing to you. Maybe that's a key for you to check in with them and see if they're okay. And so, because I've seen so many memes like, if they haven't checked in with you, then cut them off. And I'm like, well, that's always an option. However, again, this is a very unique and interesting situation that we're all in, and everybody processes things differently. So, it may not be that person is personally, purposefully not reaching out to you. Maybe they're just doing the very best they can, and they might not even be thinking about you in that way.
So, ladies, how do we move forward? I already know I'm going to have you ladies back in a couple of months, like once things kind of change and we shift, because I feel as therapists, you guys, you're kind of like in our heads, like you kind of know what people are thinking, how we're feeling. You hear the conversations through your clients. And so in a couple of months, I'm going to kind of come back and see how are we doing now that we've had this old normal that's gone and we have this new normal. Do we marry the two? What do we look like as human beings? How are we navigating? And so I want to ask you ladies today, like, how do we move forward? I've heard things like we got to be positive. Don't be so anxious and wanting this to be over because we don't know when it's going to be over. We can't control certain things. So how do we behave? How should we behave? Natalie, I'm gonna start with you. How should we behave moving forward, even just for tomorrow? Let's take a baby step. What do we need to do just to function and be okay for tomorrow?
You're right. It's definitely baby steps.
Baby
I'm having
steps.
to, for me, definitely readjust. Just as I've gotten comfortable with something, it's like, oh, well, yeah, we're still here. And having to readjust again. So I'm finding myself, I'm good, and then it goes down, and then having to lift myself up. Because as I tell clients, I can control that. I can do something about where I am, my state of mind. Those are the things I can do something. But if I'm waiting for someone else to do it, may happen, may not happen. And so, again, the mindset of knowing that we can be empowered and we are empowered to do things. And so, yeah, and I love dancing too. And so the DJs are doing all types of stuff. So I make sure on my schedule I have to work. Okay, what DJ is doing something tonight, so I can dance it all off.
Right.
So being mindful of my schedule, making sure that I'm incorporating my self-care into my schedule and being really intentional with that, because it's so easy now, like it was then, to forget about ourselves. Just kind of keep going. Oh my God, it's been a week and I haven't exercised, done this, and I haven't done things I'm supposed to do. And so to take care of ourselves is about being intentional. And so making sure it's part of our daily routine and daily schedule with the things that we want to do to make sure we're well socially, we're well physically, mentally, and that takes mindful effort. And so what I tell people is just kind of create your day. What do you want your Mondays to look like? Your Tuesdays, your Wednesdays, your Thursdays. And because the schedule is kind of like a roadmap for me. Although we could get lost and go somewhere else, but it's like, okay, I'm lost. Oh yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do. Here's the map right here. This is where I need to be. And so it kind of helps bring me back to, okay, this is what I need to be working on. But then when you have it on paper, and I encourage people to write things down. I tell people, don't keep things up here. Just write things down, whether it's journaling, whether it's your ideas, whether it's your schedule. Because again, when it's up here, it gets big, it can get confusing. When it's on paper, then it makes more sense of it. So that's what I encourage people to do. Just kind of, at this point right now, create your routine of how would you want your life to be from day to day, with your work schedule, with things with the kids. Because the other thing too, like I tell my parents, we're going to be teachers. You're going to be teachers, you're going to be camp counselors, you're going to be all that. The kids aren't going anywhere, right? And that could itself bring a little bit of, oh my, they're going nowhere. We are stuck with one another. So what do we do? Yeah, so with one particular client yesterday, as you create your work schedule, because you're also the child's teacher, You got to incorporate the things you're going to do with the kids also within your schedule. You're going to incorporate your playtime with the kids also in your schedule. You got to, all that stuff has to be done. And it's a lot. Right? And I understand. And so everything can't be done every day. Right? So you can't exercise maybe every day, but then 3 times a week. You can't play with them every day, but okay, there's a playtime somewhere in there in that week, right? Things we know we need to do somewhere within that week, we want to incorporate it, you know, because all of it has to get done. And at this point, we're everything for everybody in a way.
Yeah.
Especially for our kids, for the kids.
Excellent. Thank you, Nathalie. Erica, what about you? What would you tell us? How do we maneuver, manage just tomorrow? What would you say to us to do that?
So there's 2 things that come up for me. The first thing is do what feels best for you. So in addition to scheduling and all the amazing things that Nathalie said, I think it was really awesome how she mentioned, like, you're not going to be able to do every single thing every day.
Yeah.
And that's whether you're a single person living by yourself, that's if you are a married couple and you don't have kids, or you have a house full of kids. Still do what is going to work for you in that moment, in that day. Do the things that are going to make you feel most at peace. So for example, with Atlanta being back open, that doesn't mean that you have to be open. You don't have to go out if you don't want to. So if you don't choose to go out, that's cool. Or if you do want to go out, you have that choice as well. Just be as safe as possible. And just, again, I think sometimes because there has been so much mixed messaging from the news, from the government, one day we can do this, the next day we can't do that. It can be confusing as to figure out, like, what exactly can I do? And so that brings me to the second thing is, you have your internal environment and you have your external environment. And like Nathalie mentioned, your internal environment are your thoughts, your feelings, even as far as like your actual home. So the things in your internal environment, those are the things that you can control. You can control how you feel. You can control how you move about in the world. Now, the external environment is the news, the media, the government, all those things that are kind of, you don't have any control over. So it's almost like, who do you want to give your power to? Do you want to give your power to the external environment and be up and down all the time and not knowing if I can go outside or go inside, or do I have to wear a mask or not wear a mask, and all those kinds of things?
Right.
Or do you want to give your power to your internal environment, which again is your own personal thoughts, your own personal feelings, and those connections that you have with the people who are in your home? And so I think trying to figure out the balance between those 2 things, because as we mentioned before, it's important to be informed, but are you going to be, again, giving your power away to that and becoming fearful and becoming confused and becoming anxious because you're so unsure or so unaware? Or are you going to focus on your internal environment? And that's a conversation or a question you can continue to think about, even when quarantine is over, even when they've made the announcement that the pandemic is over. You can still think about the balance between your external environment and internal environment, even at that point.
Nice.
Love it. Good point, Erica. And one of the things that I tell clients with that, because a lot of people do get very confused as to what to do. And going back to what you mentioned too, Michelle, it's a lot of people just don't know themselves well enough, right? So it's really taking that time to meditate, be still and listen to what you're saying, what your body's saying. Because there's so much things and you don't know where to go. And just kind of sit for a minute. Don't do anything. Just kind of sit and you have the answers, right? But we're worried about judgment. We're worried about so many other things, right? But you have the answers, but it may take you kind of going into this quiet place. Just figure out what that is for you. And not everybody's gonna like it. I get right. Not everybody's gonna like the choice you make. Your choice is what you choose to do. And so if you're choosing to just today, you're not cooking, you're not doing nothing but sitting.
Yeah, you learn during this time not to be so critical on yourself. At least I have. I've learned not to be so hard on myself. Some days I'm working, just going at it, and some days I'm not. I've decided to take a day out of the week that I'm not doing anything, and I'm like, and everything will be okay, right? Everything will be fine. And it's been great because it helps to create balance. Because for me, I just don't want to miss life, because you're working or you're busy, you're doing this stuff all the time. And now in this new world, certain things that you thought were important just are not as important. Not to be disregarded, but it's just not as serious as I thought personally. So, it's a personal judgment and things of that nature. But I think for me, it has helped tremendously. I just hate the conditions in which we're under.
Mhm.
But we have just literally and it's been good because it's a collective slowdown. It's not just you taking a holiday or taking time off. It's everything. It's the environment. And so I appreciate what Erica says that, hey, even when the quarantine's over, doesn't mean you have to necessarily run out and participate. And now you gauge it. Whatever makes you comfortable, you do. And you've put in all this work, all this time, all these weeks being quarantined. You don't want to throw that away, right? Do you? So you want to kind of gradually figure out, well, what's your new normal now once the quarantine is lifted? Or how do I respond? What works for me? Because personally, you're right, Natalie. There's so many things, and Erica, there's so many things that we cannot control, but there are so many things that we can control.
Mhm.
And it's within us, right? So a lot of that is what we think, what we put in, what we watch, what we eat. Do we meditate? Is there a spiritual quest? Is there emotional things that we need to release or work on? There's so many things that we could be doing within ourselves that, you know what, you don't really have time for nothing else at
Mhm.
the end of the day, because you got stuff that you got to work on for yourself. And that's been the focus, I think, for a lot of people. I think there's gonna be a refreshness for some people. People are knowing who they are, what works for them, what doesn't work for them, what's important, their health, their wellness, eating better. Everybody's trying to eat better now. Even when I go to the supermarket, I used to be the only one in the produce section. Now everybody's in the produce section, grabbing up a bag of kale and berries and spinach because people are juicing and cooking more at home. And just so I think it's an opportunity for us to really create our own definition of wellness that would help us be in a more better mental state, right? Because we want to be mentally aware and mentally successful. And we want to be better because these are triggers that kind of stimulate the mind. So I think we just want to kind of surround ourselves with those things that make us feel good, those endorphins, if you will, if you will. Ladies, this was very good. Thank you so much for your time. I want to ask Erica, where can the people find you, busy therapist lady? If they want to be one of your clients and things, how can they get at you?
Sure. So the best ways to contact me would be on my website, which is www.ejcounselingatl.com. You can always email me at contact@ejcounselingatl.com. And I'm also on Instagram at ejcounselingatl.
Okay. And Natalie?
Mm-hmm. So the same thing, my website, esteemcounselingservices.com. I'm on Facebook, Instagram under Esteem Counseling Services. And my email is info@esteemcounselingservices.com.
Okay. Well, thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies. Today's show was powered by a couple of beautiful women entrepreneurs. We're all about that. First one is Only One Camille. Please check her out on Instagram as Only One Camille. She has the crystals and the yoni eggs and all of the things that help create the positive atmosphere for your mind, for your wellness, things like that. Energy is very important for some of us. I believe in energy, so it's great to surround yourself with things that give off positive energy, love, and light, things that help you think differently, things that help aggregate or initiate your creative juices. Now is a good a time as ever. So you want to make sure you have those things around you. So please check her out at Only One Camille on Instagram to get those things. My other sponsor for today, part of today's show, was Latasha LeRae. We got some stuff. She's an artist, a musician. She's beautiful inside and out. She feels that even though we're home, we should still dress up if you want to. So she's got some beautiful earrings, things that she's selling, some beautiful merchandise. She's all about music. So she's got some great house music and some jeans and some leggings and wonderful things that you can wear. Because guess what? When we come out of this, you still need to be cute when you come out of this quarantine. So I want to thank both of my ladies. Latasha LeRae, you can find her at Miss Latasha LeRae on Instagram to get those findings. So please, thank you so much. Support small businesses, support the entrepreneurs. Natalie supported me. Thank you, Real Chicks Rock. We are still selling them t-shirts. Show them, Natalie. Thank you. I appreciate it. You guys need a t-shirt? Yeah, feel free to go to our website. It's at realchicksrock.com. We got the tees for you because the weather is getting nice. You've been putting in the hard work. You've been eating right, taking care, meditating. Put that little cute t-shirt on your back. Let the people know that Real Chicks Rock is out here. We're doing our thing. I am everywhere. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I am on YouTube. Please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss another one of these shows because you want them in your life. That's it. That's my time. I want to thank my guests. Thank you, Nathalie Ellis. Thank you, Erica James-Strayhorn, for your time, your expertise, and being transparent. I know today's conversation is going to help a lot of people. So thank you so much for helping us during this pandemic time, because our mental health is Mental Health Awareness Month, the whole entire month of May, and we wanted to kick off the month in the right way. Our mental health and wellness is very important to all of us. Please continue to make sure you take care of yourself so that you can love and be willing and be able and be your best you for everyone else. Until next time, thank you, ladies. Until next time, you guys take care, be well, and continue to rock on. Take care. Bye.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.